Ever since Boston lost Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci to retirement, we've all been thinking, okay, who's going to replace these two guys at center? Because you can't rock with Pavel Zacha and Charlie Coyle as your top two centermen for a super long time. And you want to remain competitive because you've got Pasternak, Ullmark, McAvoy locked up, and you've got Marchand for maybe a few more years. You need to keep that competitive window open. You got to go get somebody on the market, whether it's Elias Lindholm or Mark Scheifele, maybe kicking tires on Steven Stamkos. You got to go get somebody. Well, Mark Scheifele re-signed in Winnipeg. It's seeming like Lindholm is looking more interested in re-signing in Calgary, and the Stamkos thing is just a huge question mark right now. So Boston's got to try to keep their head above water until they can go out and find somebody to fill that number one center spot. And the Bruins have been really competitive for a long time, so it doesn't look like they're going to have much in the cupboard as far as prospects coming through. I mean, there was Fabian Lysell, and then what else at forward? And a lot of people are saying, this is the competitive cycle, man. You rock with these older guys, you milk everything you can out of them, and then you got to rebuild and restack the cupboards. It takes time. Well, guess what? The Bruins are undefeated right now. They look amazing. And yes, the normal suspects are leading the way, Pasternak, Marchand, etc., but the way this Matthew Poitras kid has stepped in and filled a massively important center spot for them is a blessing from God. And yes, the kid looked good in preseason. He actually had an amazing preseason, but a lot of people were saying, okay, that's the preseason. It's not indicative at all of how the regular season is going to go. When he gets a full NHL schedule with all the regulars, it's going to be tougher for him. And credit to Paul over at the Locker Room, which, by the way, check that channel out if you haven't already. Good stuff on there. He was saying, this kid is NHL ready, and man was he ever. He stepped in, and he's pretty much the second line center for this team right now. And I don't want to put too much pressure on the kid, but he looks good enough to possibly develop into that number one center spot in Boston, if not the second spot at worst. And the kid showed it yesterday by scoring his first two NHL goals, including the game winner against Anaheim. Don't worry, I hear ya. Slow down, Johnny. It's only 5 games. I get it. But this kid doesn't seem phased or nervous by the moment at all, which is like the biggest compliment you can give to a 19-year-old kid who's coming in. And all I have left to say is, are you kidding me, Boston? I mean, how many gems is this franchise going to find without having to bottom out and getting like a top 5, top 10 pick? This kid was drafted 54th overall in 2022, and with the skill and talent and speed this guy has, he looks like he could be one of the better players from that draft class. And it's just ridiculous. I mean, Bergeron was a second-round pick, 45th overall. Marchand was a third-round pick. Pasternak, who's one of the best offensive players in the entire league, was a late first-round pick. McAvoy fell to them at 14th in 2016. And now you're telling me while Montreal was debating between Shane Wright and Slavkovsky, you were able to walk away with Poitras here? I know Jake DeBrusk is a good player, but could you imagine if the Bruins wouldn't have flubbed those 3 straight first-round picks in 2015? Because apart from that, like, who's better than them at finding gems later on in the draft? It would just be so Bruins for them to be like, nah, we don't need Stamkos, Scheifele, Lindholm. No, we're going to fill this spot internally with a stud in Poitras. Oh, what's that? You never heard of him? You will. We'll see what happens going forward. He could hit a rookie wall. He could maybe not adjust well to teams defending him harder and more intensely. But right now, the kid looks like he's going to be a player. And he's only 19, and he's got some decent size for a shifty forward. I mean, 5'11", 180, you wouldn't want that as like a power forward or anything. But for a shifty forward like he is, it suits him pretty well. It's not like he's tiny. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.